everyone. Good morning and happy Friday. I am here today to finish our Magic Treehouse book number 4, Pirates Past Noon. Now, before I finish this book and read chapters 9 and 10, let's do a little recap of what's been going on in the story. So Jack and Annie landed in a palm tree on an island with pirates. They were playing in the ocean and they saw a ship coming towards them. Turns out that the ship that was coming towards them was filled with pirates who wanted to find treasure. They thought that the gold medallion in the treehouse was the gold treasure that they were looking for, but it wasn't. They ended up finding that there was a buried treasure under a big rock on the island that was shaped like a whale. Isn't that cool? So Jack and Annie decided to tell the pirates that that is where the treasure was. But a big storm was coming and the pirates were too scared and went back to the ship. That meant that Jack and Annie were free to go back in the treehouse safe and sound. Now, we left off at chapter 8. They were in the treehouse and it was spinning, 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 and then everything was still. So now, let's read to see what happens. Are they back in Pennsylvania? I'm not sure. Let's go ahead and read chapter 9. The Mysterious M. Drip, drip, drip. Jack opened his eyes. Rain was dripping from the leaves of the tree. They were back in Frog Creek. The rain was softer. The wind was gentler. The air was sweeter. That must mean that the storm is going away. Oh man, Jack sighed. That was close. He was still holding the gold medallion. Polly's gone, said Annie sadly. I was hoping she might come back with us. No magic creature has ever come back with us, said Jack. He pulled off his backpack. It was damp with rain and salt water from the ocean. Jack took out the pirate book. He put it on the stack of books, on top of the dinosaur book, on top of the night book, and on top of the mummy book. Then Jack put the gold medallion beside the bookmark with the letter M. Next, he went down onto his knees and ran his finger over the shimmering M on the floor. We didn't find any M's on this trip, he said. Or the M person, said Annie. Squawk! Polly! Annie cried. The parrot swooshed into the treehouse. Polly was still there. She perched on the stack of books. Polly looked straight at Jack. What are you doing here? He asked Polly. Slowly, Polly raised her bright green wings. They grew bigger and bigger until they spread out like a huge green cape. Then, in a great swirl of colors, in a blur of feathers and light, in a flapping and stretching and screeching motion, a new being took shape. Polly was not a parrot anymore. In her place was an old woman, a beautiful old woman with long white hair and beautiful eyes. Wow, so Polly turned into this beautiful lady. I wonder who she is. Let's keep reading. She wore a green feathered cape. She perched on the stack of books, and she was very calm and still. Neither Jack or Annie could speak. They were amazed. Hello, Jack. Hello, Annie, the old woman said. My name is Morgan Le Fay. And that is the end of chapter 9. So the beautiful lady, her name is Morgan Le Fay. What do you notice about the name Morgan? What letter does Morgan begin with? Morgan. The letter M. Let's keep reading into chapter 10 to see if this is the M person. Chapter 10, the last chapter, is called Treasure Again. Annie found her voice first. That means she was brave enough to speak. The M person, she whispered. Yes, I am the M person, said Morgan. Where are you from? Said Jack. "Have you ever heard of King Arthur?" said Morgan. Jack nodded. "Well, I am King Arthur's sister," said Morgan. "You're from Camelot," said Jack. "I've read about Camelot." "What did you read about me, Jack?" said Morgan. "Well, you're a witch." Morgan smiled. "You can't believe everything you read, Jack." "But are you a magician?" said Annie. "Most call me an enchantress, but I'm also a librarian." "A librarian?" said Annie. "Yes, and I have come to the 20th century, your time, to collect books. You are lucky to be born in a time with so many books." "Well, do you want them for the Camelot Library?" asked Jack. "Precisely," said Morgan. "I travel in this treehouse to collect books from many different places around the world, and many from different time periods." "Did you find books here?" said Jack. "Oh, yes," said Morgan. "Many, many wonderful books. I want to borrow them." "Did you put all the bookmarks here?" said Jack. "Yes. You see, I like the pictures in books. Sometimes I want to visit the scenes in the pictures, so all the bookmarks mark places I wish to go to." "Well, how do you get there?" said Annie. "I placed a spell on the treehouse," said Morgan. "So when I point to a picture and make the wish, the treehouse takes me there." "I think you dropped this in dinosaur times," said Jack, and he handed the gold medallion to Morgan. "Oh, thank you," she said. "I wondered where I lost it." She put the medallion into a hidden pocket into her cape. "So, can anybody work the spell?" asked Annie. "Anybody who tries it?" "Oh dear, no, not just anybody," Morgan said. "You two are the only ones beside me who can do it. No one else has ever even seen my treehouse before." "Is it invisible?" said Annie. "Yes," said Morgan. "I had no idea it would ever be discovered. But then you two came along, and somehow you hooked right into my magic." "How?" said Jack. "Well, for 2 reasons," said Morgan. "First, Annie believes in magic, so she actually saw the treehouse, and her belief helped you to see it, Jack." "Oh, man," said Jack. "Then you picked up a book, Jack, and because you love books so much, you caused my magic spell to work." "Wow," said Annie. "You can't imagine my fear when you started to take off on dinosaur times. I had to make a very quick decision, and I decided to come along." "Oh, so you were the pteranodon," said Annie. Morgan smiled and nodded. "And the cat, and the knight, and Polly the bird," said Annie. "Yes," said Morgan softly. "You were all of those things to help us?" "Yes, I was there to help you, but I must go home now. The people in Camelot need my help." "You're leaving?" whispered Jack. "I'm afraid I have to," said Morgan. She picked up Jack's backpack and handed it to him. Jack and Annie picked up their raincoats. It had stopped raining. "You won't forget us, will you?" asked Annie as they put their raincoats on. "Never, I could never forget you," said Morgan. She smiled at both of them. "You remind me too much of myself. You love the impossible, Annie, and you love knowledge, Jack. What better combination is there?" Morgan Le Fay touched Annie's forehead gently, and then Jack's. She smiled. "Goodbye." "Goodbye," said Jack and Annie. Annie left the treehouse first, and Jack followed behind her. They climbed down the rope ladder for the last time. They stood below the oak tree and looked up. Morgan was looking out of the window. Her long white hair blew in the breeze, and suddenly the wind began to blow. The leaves began to shake. A loud whistling sound filled the air. Jack covered his ears and squeezed his eyes shut. Then everything was silent. Absolutely silent. Jack opened his eyes and the treehouse was gone. All gone. Annie and Jack stood a moment, staring up at the empty oak tree, listening to the silence. Annie sighed. "Let's go," she said. Jack just nodded. He felt too sad to speak. As they started walking, he put his hands into his pockets, and he felt something. Jack pulled out the gold medallion. "Look," he said. How? Annie smiled. "Morgan must have put it in there." "But how?" "Magic," said Annie. "I think it means she'll be coming back." Jack smiled. He clutched the medallion, and he and Annie took off running through the wet, sunny woods. As they walked, the sun shined through the woods, and all the wet leaves sparkled. Everything was shining. Leaves, branches, puddles, bushes, grass, wildflowers, all glittered like jewels. Annie had been right, thought Jack. Forget the treasure chest. They had treasure at home, a ton of it, everywhere. And that is the end of our book, Pirates Past Noon. Wow! So in this book, we were able to finally figure out who the M person was. She was a beautiful lady from a different time who wanted to find more books. I can't wait to see what happens in the next book. My friends, thank you so much for joining me with this story. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. But until next time, I will see you guys very soon. Bye!